Okay, this is Hurricane Norbert. It's September 7, 2014, and they have destroyed it. This is invisible light mode, and they're still showing it, but that's a lie. It does not exist anymore. This is photoshopped, and I'm going to prove it right here. Okay, so this is still showing a nice circulation. Even has an eye. How nice. If we look at shortwave infrared, it doesn't look so good. Doesn't look the same. And the one that really tells the tale is the water vapor mode. Water vapor is showing that the circulation is broken up. In fact, they're downbursting this little section right here. This is the only section that still has strong rotation. You can see actually this little cloud right here. It goes zip around there, counterclockwise. So this is a downburst right here. And of course this dark area is the HAARP downburst. They heat the ionosphere 90 miles up, it expands and presses this dry air down. Now how can I prove that? We can look at the vertical velocity maps. Here is a vertical velocity map for 850 millibars, that's 5,000 feet. And if we look down here, what we see is, red and yellow is ascending air, rising, rising, falling air. And the peninsula is this little solid line right here, and here's that point on Baja. And at 10,000 feet, we've got rising air, falling air, still falling air right in this section that I pointed out. Here's 15,000 feet, rising air, falling air, same spot. 30,000 feet, like 3 sections of rising air, rising, right in the middle where the core of the storm is, falling air. Another way to confirm this blows my mind. I cannot believe this. In fact, any meteorologists out here are going to get goosebumps looking at this. This is the jetstream map. 300 millibar height jetstream map. And look what we have in the jetstream that they have marked. We've got a high pressure right next to a low pressure. Right on top of this, quote, Category 2 hurricane. This is utterly amazing. Okay, the high pressure is 9758, low pressure is 9629. Right next to each other, you know, OMG, okay? Any meteorologists out there are freaking out at this point. But what has happened is the HAARP operators were faced with this emergency situation. When it was down here 48 hours ago, it was 110 mile an hour, 145 mile an hour gusts. It's Category 2 hurricane. And as it came within the range of the HAARP transmitter, particularly last night, the evening of September 6th, Saturday night, they burned it all night long, and here's what's left of it. So it's over with, but they've tipped their hand here because they've proved this is a HAARP transmitter. They've showed us what the range is, and also what they're doing now is, even though the core is here, they're actually transmitting slightly past it. It's like they can't go real vertical. They have to aim more towards the horizon. So that's interesting. This may rebuild a little bit as it passes over the transmitter. And personally, I hope it does $1 billion of damage out there. This thing should not be out there. It should not exist. And if someone is using it, it should be with the people's approval. It's just frightening that this tiny group has this technology, and believe me, nobody was supposed to see any of this happening. So, but we have literally caught them. And another thing I want to show is, if we go back to the Aleutian Islands, and I need to stop this. There was a giant low pressure swirl out here. Just absolutely enormous. I mean 24 hours ago. And what happened was This is a powerful thing that's going to drag warm air into the Arctic Circle. So beginning last night, September 6th, they applied the HAARP from the Gakona. And this is proof that the Gakona HAARP is, I don't know, 20, 40 times more powerful. Because now if we look at this in water vapor, it changed from being a beautiful, tight, amazing, enormous swirl. I mean, literally 1,200 miles across, and now look, it's just a bunch of little eddy currents. And some of them are still trying to reform. But this was killed overnight also. But this was also a much, much bigger low-pressure system than that Category 2 Hurricane Norbert. Okay, so that's the end of Norbert. And despite it still being over 79-degree water, it just, this is the end of it. Supposedly. But there's a lot to be learned just from this, just from the movement of the clouds here. We can see these clouds are actually moving to the south and west. So you would think that there'd be something in the jet stream to drag those in that direction, and there's not. We got a high pressure here. So, well, you know, this whole thing is just messed up. Who knows what's on there? But for them to label that high, that's amazing. Okay, and here's the surface pressure. This should all be going counterclockwise. This is now defunct. This map no longer is correct. Okay, folks, so we've caught them again. This is a major embarrassment for them. Major, major embarrassment. But this thing was going to go straight over the transmitter, 140-mile-an-hour winds, and they just had to kill it in the most hidden way possible. And in the past, they would downburst all around it, and that kind of breaks it up. Instead, they had a pinpoint downburst the whole time, and that it looked more natural like that because it was sort of like just the dark eye. But the vertical velocity map showed that it was something unnatural, something very unnatural. But I bet you've never seen a high pressure parked on top of a hurricane before. That is an admission right there. And thank you, GFS model, for that. Okay. I guess that's it for me. Thanks.